Adequate notice of this meeting has been provided to 2 newspapers posted on the bulletin board of City Hall and on the doors of the 3 schools as required in the Open Public Meeting Act, Chapter 231, PL 1975, and as amended by PL 2020, Chapter 11. Mrs. Samuelson, will you please lead us in the flag salute?
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
May I have a roll call, please?
Mrs. Brookbank?
Here.
Mr. Conover?
Here.
Mrs. Zachico?
Here.
Dr. Dalton?
Here.
Dr. Myers? We were advised you be absent. Mr. Sweeter? We were advised he be absent. Mrs. Samuelson?
Here.
And Mrs. Endicott?
Here.
Thank you.
Thank you. We have a motion to approve the minutes for our regular and special meeting on August 11th, as well as our special meeting on August 26th.
Motion, Samuelson.
Thank you.
Second, Dalton.
Thank you. Any questions? May I have a roll call, please?
Mrs. Zachico?
Yes.
Mr. Conover?
Yes.
Mrs. Brookbank?
Yes.
Dr. Dalton?
Yes.
Mrs. Samuelson?
Yes.
And Mrs. Endicott?
Yes. Thank you. Motion approved. Moving on, I will open the meeting to the public at this time. Any members of the public like to address the board on agenda items only? Hearing none, we will close public comment and move on to communications. I have a motion to approve items 5B through D, please.
Motion, Samuelson.
Thank you.
Second, Zachico.
Thank you. Any questions? May I have roll call, please?
Mr. Conover?
Yes.
Dr. Dalton?
Yes.
Mrs. Zachico?
Yes.
Mrs. Brookbank?
Yes.
Mrs. Samuelson?
Yes.
Mrs. Endicott?
Yes. Thank you. Motion approved. Moving on to communications, I have a motion to approve items 6A through C, please.
Motion, Samuelson.
Thank you.
Second, Zachico.
Thank you. Any questions? May I have roll call, please?
Mrs. Zachico?
Yes.
Mrs. Brookbank?
Yes.
Dr. Dalton?
Yes.
Mr. Conover?
Yes.
Mrs. Samuelson?
Yes.
Mrs. Endicott?
Yes. Thank you. Motion approved. Moving on to committee reports. For Student and Community Affairs, Mrs. DeChico.
Yes. Student and Community Affairs met Wednesday, September 8th. We discussed the YMCA before and after care. We discussed the options available, customer service, the way to get in touch with customer service for help with registration and other questions. We discussed the options available, 2-, 3-, and 5-day options that are available, and various financial assistance information that's available. We reviewed and discussed the use of facilities request form. We discussed the district's safe return to school plan and some updates and current COVID numbers. Then we briefly discussed the upcoming ESSER grant proposal. We discussed transportation issues during the first week of school. Basically not any different than other districts that are right now experiencing a bus shortage. So We just talked through that. Dr. Cry updated the committee on crossing guards. We discussed communication with families, namely social media and customer service in the main offices. Dr. Cry updated the group about the school climate and culture surveys and asked us to review and provide feedback. Dr. Cry presented enrollment numbers per grade. She also updated the committee about the rebranding efforts for the district, and she provided information to the committee regarding the school business administrator contract.
Thank you. Any questions for Mrs. Chico? Okay, moving on to instruction. Mrs. Samuelson, please.
Instruction Committee met on September 8th. Dr. Foss gave us an update on the opening day professional development as well as the new staff professional development. Mr. Thomas updated us on the English language learning program, and we discussed the remote learning plan for students when they're quarantined, but there has been new guidance from the state, so we will be getting more information on that, I'm believing, at our next meeting. Next month, we plan to discuss report cards as well as the district requests for the SRR grants funds.
Thank you, Mrs. Samuelson. Any questions for Mrs. Samuelson? Okay, moving on to finance and negotiations. Mrs. Brooksmith, I believe you were going to give the report.
I have a short
Since Mr.
report.
Schroeder can't be
yes.
here. Thank you very much.
The Finance Committee met on Tuesday, September 7th. We discussed the Dawes Avenue roof project, which is considered substantially completed per the architect. There was also a recommendation that we have the geothermal system checked in case the contractor's trucks did any damage to the field underneath, even though I don't think that there was a fear that that happened, but just in case.
No,
You
Mr.
didn't see
Sweeter
anything.
provided us with the name of 2 different individuals that can come in and take a look at it. We haven't made second payment or final payment,
Until
and
next
besides that, we do have a change order coming next month, which is a credit to us for some of the damage that was done to the grass and to the watering system.
The irrigation,
So
right.
by next month, we should know if there's any other credits that we need to take off of their last bill.
Final.
Okay?
We also discussed the architect of record, and we discussed, in our facilities conversation, we discussed the Jordan Road woodshop room, and it was referred to the facilities team to look at it and discuss options for clearing it.
Thank you. Okay, well, I'll move through, unless there's any information anyone has for foundation education. I'll move through that because I know Mr. Schreier couldn't be here, but at last report, he had said I don't think there was a meeting scheduled until after this meeting anyway.
The race, I think.
I'm sorry?
I think there's the race in November already has sign-ups up, I saw.
The Tale of Two Cities?
Yes, November,
6?
I was gonna say Saturday the 6th. Saturday
Yeah,
the
Yeah.
6th.
Saturday
And
the
the
6th.
kids already got,
Okay, I thought I remembered him saying it wasn't going to be until after this meeting tonight. Okay, so the next foundation meeting is on September 29th. Thank you. City Council, I have nothing to report in terms of City Council, so we can move on to agreements, applications, and contracts. I have a motion to approve items 8A through B, please.
Motion, Samuelson.
Thank you.
Second, DeChico?
Thank you. Any questions? May I have a roll call, please?
Mr. Conover?
Yes.
Mrs. DeChico?
Yes.
Dr. Dalton?
Yes.
Mrs. Brookbank?
yes.
Mrs. Samuelson?
Yes.
Mrs. Endicott?
Yes. Thank you. Motion approved. Moving on to curriculum, I have a motion to approve items 9A through K, please.
Motion, Samuelson.
Thank you.
Second, DeChico?
Thank you. Any questions?
I have a question regarding the fall sports schedules. Practices started today, and there was only 6 kids at cross-country, which is not normal. And what I'm hearing is there wasn't enough girls soccer players or boys soccer players, so they combined them. And then
That was going to be my question.
Yeah, so what I have a few questions about that, but one of them is, I know we got notice kind of right before school started that physicals wouldn't be offered this year. Is that because the doctor isn't doing them?
That is actually because our physician is concerned about coming in, considering there are alleged side effects from vaccinations, et cetera. He's concerned about coming in and being the one to sign off on physicals instead of having the children's pediatrician that they use on a regular basis, being the one to confirm. So we are very, very short. I had a meeting actually because of some concerns, and right now we have probably only it looked like, I think I had 5 students ready to start soccer because their physicals are in. We have 18 students that are signed up for soccer, 9 boys, 9 girls, and they're going to look to do a co-ed team in order for us to fill the team to compete. But we don't have enough students that have their physicals yet to compete, so that is a problem. We also have only 5 students that have signed up for field hockey and only 2 physicals. And cross country, we're having the same kind of situation. So right now, we're trying to find an alternate solution. I'm not sure we're going to be able to, so we're trying to either push for figuring out a way to get the physicals done here in school, or possibly look to pull out of the league this year and do intramurals instead to make sure that the kids can participate, but that we don't have the same mandates with the physicals that they do for competitive sports. Because right now it's just really, really bad. We could not get our physician to come in and do the physicals.
Well, I guess what I wanted to ask was, is that all physicians, or it's just this particular? It's not a
Well,
policy that.
We have a district physician that
Yes,
would
Dr.
normally do
Rob.
that, yes. And so it's really just making sure that he's the one that would have to come in and do the physicals, and it's not being done in school this year.
Are other districts experiencing that as well?
But I mean, my kids' friends aren't, but go ahead. I'm sorry.
Some school districts are having their physicians come in, some are not comfortable coming in and signing off, so.
I get that, but I was just wondering, is he the only option? And you're saying there's other options that will be.
Well,
looking
he's
at.
our district physician, so what we're looking to do is see if there are other options. But he is our only district-approved physician for the district.
I guess for me, it's just for comparison purposes, the last time we had a soccer team, which wasn't last fall, but the fall before that, there was enough kids for a full varsity and a
And a
full
JV, correct.
for boys and a full girls team.
Correct.
So now we're down to not enough players for even one team,
Right.
and that's a concern for me, because I just think it's in the best interest of these kids to get them back out on those fields.
I
Oh, for
agree.
sure.
It's a
And I
concern.
know, yeah.
It's a concern as well. I know that Mrs. Elko wanted to jump in. I guess my question before she jumps in is it possible that the limited signups are because the notifications went out saying you have to get your own physical, so then that kind of, because I know that was the notification that went out to families. So is that a reason of why we might even have limited signups, because families were just like, well, I can't get a physical, so I'm not even signing up, type of a thing? That was my question. So go ahead, Mrs. Elko.
I was just going to suggest that you allow me the opportunity to talk to the superintendent about the law actually requires and your responsibilities for your school physician, and then we can certainly have a discussion with the school physician about their responsibilities and go from there, and then give an update to the board as soon as we do that.
I don't know for sure numbers, but when I asked about it today, I was told and I don't have an exact number, but I think maybe, let's say 9 or 10 people did sign up for girls soccer, but only 1 had their physical, or maybe 2.
There's
So-
9 boys, 9 girls right now, and only 2 physicals completed
Right.
for all 18.
So there are kids that are interested in coming out, but even they can't. So I don't know if that impacts your. So that was one of my concerns. And then I do know other districts are having a hard time with busing to different schools. So
Which is something that we actually discussed at a premium level right now, or a basic level right now. we talked about reaching out to Mainland to see if they could support us, at least for sports, because right now our current bus company and our jointure that we have, they don't have the ability to get us back and forth to our sporting games, and realistically, we're confined to whatever hours they have are not running out of the routes in order to make sure that, you know, the students can get to and from their games, which is going to be next to impossible. So we are going to possibly look as Mainland as another opportunity for us to get buses. So that's the next option for us to try to get the travel to the games.
Okay, and then the only other thing I wanted to say about it was that I'm sure it's coming, but I hope that the fall sports teams will get remind groups.
They will.
Okay, thank you.
Yes.
So your recommendation is to find out from the physician and move from there. Since it's supposed to be starting like within the next week, what are you guys thinking that, like, how quick do you think that could happen so that we
I'll
can
talk to
proceed?
Michelle tonight after the meeting, and we'll follow up again first thing in the morning.
Okay. So my next question is talking about students that have signed up, yet they don't have their physical, but are there students that may not have signed up because they didn't think it was an option? And then if we're able to resolve the physical issue, will then students be told that so that they could then
Yes.
have the opportunity to sign up if maybe
Yes.
that was something that prevented them from signing up?
Absolutely.
Okay.
We will re-advertise to make sure all students have an opportunity to have access to the sports.
Okay, and then my other question is in terms of combining the team, how's that working if you're competing with other teams that are not co-ed? How does that all work?
We played teams 2 years ago that were co-ed because, like, I think Dennis Township maybe.
Yeah,
They didn't have enough players. So
there
they
are
co-ed.
some districts that
Okay.
have co-ed teams, and it's just a matter of, you know, the competition. So some are co-ed, some are not. So
Okay,
And so the schedules, if we approve the schedule today, it may need to be updated or changed.
it will probably have to be updated. I know that Mrs. Cowan has been on top of it, and she's planning on seeing if we can push things back to give us time to get the students, like maybe having the games postponed, so we can still compete, but also have the physicals met for our students.
okay. Any other questions?
I had a question about the climate surveys. I know that the Student Community Affairs were asked to give feedback. Was that incorporated into the surveys that were going out?
The surveys that are here are based upon state models for climate and culture. My thought process is that academics and instruction are part of that climate and culture. If there are specific questions that the board would like me to ask, I can incorporate them. But you know, we're trying to stick to the model so that we have pre and post data that's based upon the best practice of what they're looking for climate and culture. So I went with the state models just for that reason, in order to make sure that we have pre and post. But if there are recommendations of things that you would like to know, I can add them.
So the district has used the state model surveys previously?
Now, this is on for approval because we would like to move forward as other districts are doing with the state models for parents, students, and the Cassell model the Cassell model for our students and the state model for our parents and our staff.
So if you added the questions that the Student Community Affairs Committee wanted and you used it again later, you would still have pre and post data if you used the same survey?
Correct. And I just didn't have a clear, I was given a recommendation as to what the committee would like, but not specific questions. Like if there are specific questions that the committee would like to see, I can add them before this goes out. And we can approve that contingent upon, you know, specific questions that we're looking for.
How does the committee feel about that?
Yeah,
Is
that would be
okay?
great. I think it was just,
Okay.
I mean, unless we're going to do a separate survey later on about, that's just for instruction and academics, I mean, because there are several questions we could be asking, but I mean, in general, if we, and Kathy, you can weigh in if we want to just, something in there about,
Well, my thoughts were, I think we're trying to really raise up our academic awareness here.
And the question was something like, do you feel that this is an academic culture? If not, why not? If not, what could make it better? And kind of leave it general so people could, tell us what would make it better or what is getting in their way of trying to teach these students.
Let me ask you this question. Would anything from the exit survey that I created for our families, would any of those questions possibly be something that we could pull? Because I already do have that exit survey that we are using with families that are leaving the district. Could we maybe look at those and pull a couple of those and just put that contingent upon, like approval based upon feedback for other academic questions that drive? Because I already have that survey done and I can forward that out to the committee.
Yeah, that sounds good. I don't remember exactly what the.
There was a lot. There was a lot. So maybe we could pick a couple.
Yeah, maybe two, something like that.
Mhm.
Just to get general feedback, we might get some ideas. I don't
Mhm.
know. I always feel like the collective IQ is better, the IQ of the room is better than an individual, So I can't hurt
Agreed.
that. Yeah.
Agreed. Okay.
So the questions that you're talking about, you can send out from the exit, you're saying from the exit survey?
Because that was primarily academics and like the approach, like how people felt about the district. So
Okay.
there are some academic components of that exit survey that could possibly be pulled to get feedback from parents now that are in district.
I know
Okay, but good.
No, I was just saying, I know I asked a couple meetings ago if we were going to get any of that data over the last, 6 months to a year, the exit surveys that were given out, if we were going to be able to see them. You said you were going to get that to us, but I haven't seen that yet.
We have two answers. Of the exit surveys that we've sent out, we've only had 2 respondents. And I'm more than happy to share them in my report update tomorrow.
Over the last year, we've only had two actually
We only
respond.
created that survey this summer.
Okay,
So
that's
the
what
survey's
Well,
been,
that particular one, but we've had exit surveys going on for a while now, I thought. Like when Superintendent Baruffi was here, we had exit surveys going on. No, for children leaving the district.
Yeah,
Well, for
for
parents.
families that are moving away.
That's not a new thing, unless
it,
I dreamt that somewhere. I mean,
No,
we've
you
been-
didn't. You didn't dream it. I'm just wondering if
It's been going on for a while.
that. I'm just wondering that data wasn't presented to us, and I don't know
No, I've never seen it.
where that.
And I know that I know there's parents that have left that have reported they've never gotten one. I mean,
since this summer, Mr. Conover, since this summer, the principals have been sending out those surveys to parents. Not all have been taking the opportunity to fill it out. I only have 2 responses, but I will be more than happy to share that with you, because I do know that they send an email requesting their feedback to help us improve our services for the district.
Okay, when a student usually withdraws, do they have to do that in person, or, I mean, I know we're in the middle of COVID, so things have changed, but typically, is it in person? Do they need to go to the registrar and officially sign out and withdraw in person?
They do. They get a transfer card and they do have to withdraw. And when they withdraw, then they follow up. I know Dr. Vanello normally copies me on all of hers, that she sends an email out requesting for their feedback. And I know that Mrs. Supp is doing the same, like requesting feedback from the parents and through email, and giving them the link to the survey so that we have the digital, we can collect the data very easily.
So I guess my question would be, at the time they're there to withdraw and get their records and all of those things, can the survey not be given to them then as a part of that process, so that you're not waiting on people who have left to fill out the survey, that it's a part of them physically going and signing out, to ask them to complete that as a part of that process, so that maybe we can get some more information?
We can. It's a pretty lengthy survey, and on paper to turn around and translate it in, that's part of the reason we were trying to do it through like a virtual platform to get that data quickly. But we can do paper form if that's.
Oh, no, it doesn't need to be paper form, but like there could just be like a QR that the family can just scan right there and get the
Sure,
link
we
and
can do that.
complete it right there on their phone. So yeah, it wouldn't need to be paper.
Yeah.
It would still be the electronic link, but that way it's being done as a part of them being there and signing out, instead of kind of chasing people afterward. Because I know once people, with anything, once people, aren't in front of you, it's a lot harder to kind of get data from people and when they're with you.
Yeah, we can actually do the QR code. That's a good idea. And I can have that, present in the main offices. Dr. Vanella, did you hear that? Okay.
Do we think we'd want to know information from the eighth graders that graduated, those families, like what was their experience? If we need more data points, essentially, could ask that group too. Those students leaving, you know?
Yep. We can do that.
Okay, so in terms of what we've got on the floor for the motion that's here, the question came up about the climate and culture surveys. And what we're approving is what was given to us from the state, but we can approve a contingent upon you getting that information from what is already in the exit surveys that was already completed and the committee reviewing that and deciding what questions to add to that.
I can even make recommendations based upon that survey of what might be good data for us to have. And then we can just add those components. I can pull those
Okay.
and add those.
Okay, so that would be the contingency that we're adding for K. And then the other question for the fall sports schedules is that we're following up with the physician. I mean, we're approving the schedules tonight, and we're hoping that we'll be able to come up with some kind of plan so that we don't have to pull out of the league and do intramurals, that we'll be able to, A, not only allow the kids to compete, but maybe provide the opportunity for the physicals or whatever is kind of stopping the normal amount of kids that we have out there playing. We'll come up with some kind of solution to address that. Is that correct? Okay. Any other questions? Can I have a roll call, please?
Yes.
Mrs. DeChico,
Yes.
Mr. Conover,
Yes.
Dr. Dalton,
Yes.
Mrs. Samuelson,
Yes.
Mrs. Endicott.
Yes, thank you. Motion approved. Moving on, we have nothing for facilities, so we'll move to finance. And I have a motion to approve items 11A through B, please.
Motion, Samuelson?
Thank you.
Second, DeChico?
Thank you. Any questions?
I wasn't able to, I forgot to email to ask, but I don't see anything under out-of-district travel when I look at it. I don't know what we're approving.
Oh, thank you, Mrs. Brookbank. I asked that question too, but was this something that you're putting in here just as a placeholder in case we need it? Because I think I asked that question too, but I forgot that I asked that question. Thank you. Thank you for reminding.
Can you ask that question one more time?
I'm sorry, under finance, out-of-district travel, we can't see anything, so I don't know what we're approving.
Right, there's nothing listed.
Right,
I didn't know if you added that as a placeholder for like,
Placeholder.
Well, it's a placeholder, but also it got combined with the professional development. If you take a look at it, Dr. Vanilla is to the Drexel University, but most of it is not out-of-district travel. Most of it is still online training or Zoom training and stuff like that. So it's kind of like, where do you put it? It's going to cost to have the program, but they're not really traveling anywhere to do it. It's just a cost to the program. So Dr. Vanilla's is on there, and
You mean under personnel?
Mr.
Under out-of-district
Nelson's is
professional
on there.
development.
yeah, that would be professional development. This is just for out of district travel.
Yeah,
This isn't-
Okay.
I did not
Right.
receive anything.
Okay,
No.
so then we're not approving anything under A, we're approving under 11B then.
Right.
Which would just be the fall sports bus schedule.
Which
Gotcha.
I actually just deleted it, so if you can mark it as A, I deleted the placeholder so that it's just A for fall sports.
Okay,
Got you.
so the fall sports schedule is what is up for approval. Any other questions? May I have a roll call?
Mrs. Brookbank.
Thank you.
Oh, same one.
I'm sorry.
Mr. Conover. Dr. Dalton,
Yes.
Mrs. DeChico,
Yes.
Mrs. Samuelson,
Yes.
and Mrs. Endicott.
Yes, thank you. Motion approved. And I have a motion under personnel to approve items 12A through K, please.
Motion, Samuelson?
Thank you.
Second, DeChico?
Thank you. Any questions? I just have the one question, the PLC facilitators that we're approving. This was, we're approving it this year, but we had discussed that moving forward. For next year, that would be a part of the coaching position, the new teacher coaching positions, or is that another stipend that we're rolling into that?
As far as the PLC facilitators, they've always been a separate entity for this. If you notice, we actually adjusted some of the proratedness because of some of them not showing up for today because they were not approved. So, but they have been a separate entity, but we can talk about for next year if that's something that we're going to roll in.
Wasn't it at our July or our June?
What we discussed was changing the timeline for when they were hired so that they would be able to attend summer professional development as part of the stipend.
Correct.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
That was just so that next year, like, it basically almost like an ESY program, like they would attend through the summer to do some professional development next summer.
Okay.
And can you explain to us why it's prorated?
Because we actually had a meeting today, and we had one of our, because they were not officially on the agenda for approval, we had one of the listed showed up, and we felt that that person showed up and did for their meeting today with Dr. Koss, while the others did not because they were not approved. So we wanted to just prorate it for the 9 months versus the 10 months since, not all showed up today.
So there was an invitation for everyone to come.
Correct.
And only one person accepted the invitation.
Correct.
Any other questions? May I have a roll call, please?
Mrs. DeChico?
Yes.
Mrs. Brookbank?
Yes.
Dr. Dalton?
Yes.
Mr. Conover?
Yes.
Mrs. Samuelson?
Yes, but abstain on K.
And Mrs. Endicott?
Yes. Thank you. Motion approved. Moving on, we have no policies or professional services to approve, so I will take a motion to approve items 15 through 17, please. The transfer fund and the secretary's and treasurer's financial report.
Motion, Samuelson?
Second, DeChico?
Thank you. Any questions? May I have a roll call, please?
Mrs. Brookbank?
Yes.
Mrs. DeChico?
Yes.
Mr. Conover?
Yes.
Dr. Dalton?
Yes.
Mrs. Samuelson?
Yes.
Mrs. Endicott?
Yes, thank you. Motion approved. May I have a motion to pay the bills this month, please?
Motion, Samuelson?
Thank you.
Second, DeChico?
Thank you. Who did the bills again this month? Thank you, Mrs. Chico. Any questions? May I have roll call, please?
Dr. Dalton?
Yes.
Mrs. DeChico?
Yes.
Mrs. Brookbank?
Yes.
Mr. Conover?
Yes.
Mrs. Samuelson?
Yes.
Mrs. Endicott?
Yes, thank you. Motion approved. Okay, at this time, I'd like to open the meeting to the public. Any members of the public like to address the board, please? Hello.
Well, let me turn it on.
And you might have to pull that microphone up towards you because you're kind of tall.
Good, you hear me?
Yep, we can hear
Okay.
you.
I'm Brad Benedetto, I live here.
Can you please state your address just for the
Okay,
record?
11 Cornell Road,
Thank you.
no problem. My wife and I were discussing some stuff at the start of the school year, and she wrote a letter because she's a teacher in a different district, and it's her back-to-school night tonight, so I'm here to read her letter. Good evening, board members and administration. I apologize that I cannot be in person to speak to you, but tonight's meeting coincides with my back-to-school night at the district I teach in. I have concerns regarding the high cost of the YMCA before and after care program, and respectfully ask that you consider my family's experience as it may relate to many other families in our Summers Point district. My children are 4 and 6, currently enrolled in pre-K 4 at New York Avenue and first grade at Dawes Avenue. My husband and I work full-time and do not have any family members who can ensure the safety of our children before and after school hours. Both of my children are registered with the YMCA before and after school program, and for 3 days of the week, they go to before care from 7 a.m. to the start of school and after care from the end of school to approximately 4 p.m. This equates to about 10 and a half hours of childcare. The cost to us for that time is $569.63, plus the initial once-a-year family membership fee of $55 to a building and resources an hour away from our community. 2 years ago, when the Summers Point Community Education and Recreation ran Smile and Castle, I could have paid for an entire month, 5 days a week, before and after care for 2 children for $550. Our child care is almost double the cost for 3/5 of the time. I understand that there is assistance for child care available, but my family and many other families do not qualify. Please know that my opinion on the financial aspect of the YMCA is in no way a reflection on my feelings towards the care they are currently providing. My children are happy and healthy when I pick them up, and all Y employees I have interacted with have been pleasant and professional. I acknowledge the school year is already underway, and there will likely be no changes at this time, but I urge you to consider renegotiating or making a change for next school year if at all possible. Thank you for hearing my words, and thank you for allowing my husband to be my proxy. Sincerely, Whitney Benedetto.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Can I just ask him, could you just repeat the part about how much you paid per year? Is it per month you pay $569? It's okay, take your time. You pay
$569.63 per month.
per month, okay.
And you said it boils down to about 10 hours.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your
Okay.
information.
Thank you very much.
Any other members of the public like to address the board?
Oh, it's on.
I either need to take my glasses off or my mask. Okay, hi, Teresa Doherty, 26 Dogwood Drive. I have 2 things. So the sports physicals and busing has me really concerned because, I mean, I hear you guys are taking care of it, but I just really wanted to express my concern, just that there's so many children missing out on the opportunity. I mean, it's social, emotional, and physical benefits for the children. It also affects their competitiveness for high school. I mean, we are already at such a disadvantage when our kids go to mainland. And now, you know, with this not having the ability to participate in sports because of something that should be available, like the physicals and the busing, they don't have access to. It's accessibility, and I think we really need to work on that. We need to make sure there's funds for that. We need to make sure there's support for that. And second, is a little bit, so I was at the July 15th meeting, and when you guys talked about the motion to approve Darcy Broglin for professional days. And I mean, I was just sitting there listening. She was going to turnkey her experience to the staff day teaching science in the Summers Point School District. She had a whole plan she was discussing with Dr. Koss, and it was denied because of she just wanted professional days and a substitute. So then she came back, the August 11th meeting, and asked for unpaid days. So all that was going to be was a cost of a substitute for a week, from my understanding. This is my understanding of it. My concern is that, what are we doing here? I mean, this was a great opportunity for a well-respected teacher who goes above and beyond, as well as a great opportunity to enhance the science curriculum for Summers Point students. We want to attract and retain teachers like her. And by denying her this professional opportunity, it sends a negative message that we don't value teachers here, that we don't value student enrichment here. For what? For a substitute cost? I was really thrown off by that. I thought, you guys, it was more positive than that here. I thought, we need to support the teachers. I get it. You're trying to get the academics up. You're trying to get the testing up. I totally support all that. But we have great teachers here, and the morale is not good. You can just see it. And this was an opportunity to have an olive branch there and to give someone an opportunity that would have been really good and well-deserved. So I just wanted to say that, acknowledge that.
Thank you. Any other members of the public like to address the board? No. Okay, we will close public comment at this time. Board forum. Any members of the board like to speak?
I'll go first.
Sure.
A couple things. One, Michelle, what are we going to do to resolve the absolute horrendous pickup and drop off on Jordan Road here? I was working the other day and it was backed up to Laurel Drive. I had to physically park my car and walk up to see what was going on. There was a bus parked on Jordan Road. There were parents on either side of Jordan Road. There were kids darting in between cars to get to their parents across the street. Granted, traffic was at a standstill, but that doesn't mean at any moment a car can't break free somehow and a kid get hit. I tried to find an administrator, but there was no administrators outside. There were teachers, but they referred me to the principal. They didn't want to speak out of turn. They said that they were out there doing what they were scheduled to do. So I just want to know if you were even aware of that, and if so, are you doing anything to fix that? Because that's the worst. I mean, I've been here 20 years for the police department, and with a district that had like 1,400 kids at one point, that's the worst I've ever seen Jordan Road during pickup and drop off.
What day was that?
What's today? Thursday. So
Was it the rain-
I would
the
have
rain
worked Tuesday day work. I was working.
But it's every day.
Yeah, no, it is every day. I'm just saying, the most recent time I saw it was Tuesday, and it was the worst that I've seen it. I mean, we just started, but it was the worst I've seen it in my entire time with the police department. Like, it's never been backed up like that.
I think that a little bit of it is going to be cleared up with your yellow tags, because a lot of times parents are waiting to make sure their kids get in, and but when we're always running a few minutes late, and when we pull up at 7:50, the line is, I can't even make the turn onto Jordan Road. It's backed up onto Laurel, and so my kids have been marked late a couple times because we're in that line and there's nowhere to go. And people have started backing up to try to make a turn on the side street. They've been driving backwards down the one-way street to try to do it. I haven't seen it like that since I've been here. I do know Mr. Thomas was outside trying to encourage people to move on, but it was kind of like a log jam. There was nowhere to go. So I'm hoping the yellow tags help a little bit, but
What's the what?
the yellow tags, which is allowing the kids to walk in once their affirmation, the health screenings, don't have to be every kid's name doesn't have to be found on a list anymore. But I just wanted to say also, it's not in the back of the building. That drop-off is, the cars move very quickly.
There's
but-
only 2 grades.
So I don't, well, I just don't know if there's a way to have the kids that go in on that side, like the 4th graders, get dropped off on the back corner or something like that, because it has been very treacherous.
Well,
and
I know it's been discussed prior to, and Stacy might have been here when we talked about it, but the frontage of Jordan Road, and I would assume that ESSER money might come into play with something like this, but I don't know. The frontage of Jordan Road, I don't know why we've never discussed or implemented maybe a plan to have a cut-in that goes all the way up into the windows of the front of Jordan Road, where we could have cars pulling in to drop off and then pulling out. You still have plenty of room out on Jordan Road if people wanted to park along the houses side if they needed to wait X amount of minutes to get their kids out, but the parents are just pulling up and dropping off. Another option would be, the field needs to be cleaned up anyway. We could have parking established back there somewhere. I don't know. But
We talked about all those things
Yeah.
when we talked about redistricting.
Yeah.
All these things came up. There wasn't money at the time in the budget,
now
but
we have
yes, yeah. But we talked about those when there was a concern that we were going to have people coming from across the town. It was going to be an increase to the traffic flow. So yes, that was discussed at great length. I do recall that as well.
And Dawes is still Dawes. Dawes has always been a problem. I don't know why we haven't put the parking on the bike path that we talked about on the opposite side of where the teachers park. That's always been discussed. I mean, we have-
That was actually supposed to be part of the, because I was working with the Economic Commission, and
The bike
that was
path.
supposed to be part of the bike path expansion. And it was supposed to be done. I'm not sure why it was nixed. In addition to the fact that the fence was taken away, which is allowing for people to cross in between cars and jump out into traffic, which is a hazard. I did meet with the chief yesterday. I mean, I talked to the chief quite a bit, but I talked to the chief yesterday and I met him over there, and he actually has petitioned to get those fences put back in so that the people can't park across the bike path and then walk straight through all these cars, because it's dangerous for kids and students, kids and their parents to be walking in between cars out in the traffic on Atlantic Avenue.
Yeah,
So,
we could even go as far as to the 2 blocks on either side
yes,
of where the parking currently is. You could put, you could double or actually triple your parking spaces if you made an effort with the city to put parking on either side. That would be the same amount of spaces that the teachers currently have. And then all the parents have to do is get out of the car and walk down the bike path and to where the crossing guard is and come in. I mean,
that's been discussed. I did talk to the mayor again about that the other day. It's been a process. I thought that the parking spots were going to be put in with the commission when they did the bike path, and that didn't happen. So I will keep working to try to get those parking spots.
I mean, I'm just afraid. I don't even want to say it out loud. I'm just afraid that something bad is going to happen,
I agree.
and we're sitting here, contemplating what could have been done. And I know that's worst case scenario, but I'm telling you, when I was there on Tuesday, the possibility of a kid running out and getting hit by a car was pretty real. That's why I got out of my car and went down and tried to get it moving, but it was so logged up that I couldn't do anything.
I think that do you mind if I'm
No,
sorry.
go ahead.
I'm noticing a difference at both schools this year personally. And I don't know, we've changed just a few things. I think at Dawes, just them all coming out on the same side instead of the kindergartners coming out around the back. I think that's changed it a little bit. But like the other day, 2 parents parked in the crosswalk and the security guard could not get them to move. And people are just, and so I've seen police officers out there, but they can't be at every angle of this thing. It's just too big of an area. So by the time they get down to those cars, then they're pulling out. But there's people that are parking right in crosswalks. And I don't know how it's a tragedy waiting to happen, and it is scary to me. I feel the same way. And I think that the way the drop-off pickup line is working at Jordan and Dawes is that it's not working. If the first car in line is the last kid out of the building, then everyone's out of their cars. It's frustrating. People are angry. The security guards are getting screamed at, cursed at by parents at times. And I just think we have to find a better way. Something else I wanted to check.
Yeah, go ahead.
So I wanted to say thank you for implementing the affirmations. I think that's made a huge difference in drop-off. And I really have admired the way that you and the staff members are out there getting parents signed up for it. I'm hoping that, while they're there, I meant to ask you this quietly, but are we talking to them about Remind app and stuff? How many parents in the district are part of Remind at this point?
We actually
Everybody?
have them all.
Great.
There's been a couple that have canceled the messages, and I've reinstalled it for them so that they are back in the loop. But we have, I mean, we did an automatic upload. Now what we have to do is put the sports teams in there. Like, you have to create new classes. But we're working on all of that, and everything's pretty much aligned. And then the few people who are not happy with receiving messages because they no longer are here have requested to be deleted, and I've taken care of that as well. So.
As a parent, I really love the format, and I look forward to the teachers using it more as they get used to it, just for communication. And then the other thing I wanted to say is just that my concern remains, and I know new guidance is coming out, and that hopefully we'll get more information tomorrow, but my concern remains about what plan is in place for kids who are being told they have to quarantine because there was a positive case in their classroom and they're being sent home. I think our numbers were alarming at certain points over the last couple weeks. I think today they're down to 11 kids.
They're
I
back
looked.
up again.
Okay. So I have a serious concern that those kids aren't getting virtual instruction or live streaming with their teachers when we have the capability, and we did it for a year. And so I look forward to hearing in the next couple days what the county guidance said, but I think our district can do better for those kids who are forced to be at home.
Is your concern, your concern's more, not just the kids that are home because of quarantine, because in their classroom, right? The concern is just in general,
Well, if you're
anyone that's got to be home.
if you are a child who has a positive case and is quarantined, or what if there's 6 kids in a class who are the kids sitting right around them? That's,
Right.
My concern is anyone who is told they have to stay home for 2 weeks.
Right, whether it's they were in the classroom
Anyone.
and they came in contact, or if you're,
Anyone,
if,
right.
anybody. Okay,
Anybody.
I just wanted to,
It's
okay.
a substantial loss of instructional time.
Right, I know, I agree. I just wanted to clarify, it wasn't just the kids being told they had to quarantine because someone else tested
Well,
positive.
to me,
It's in general,
And my
anyone.
feeling is that we took a huge step backwards. We have all these iPads, and I know that they're being used in the classroom for testing, but if that child's not there, that iPad can go home with them. My older kids are bringing home their Chromebooks every day, but the younger ones aren't. We had the capability to reach them. We had the capability because we did it for a year. So now they're getting paper packets, and I think we can do better.
Well, the paper packets at the lower levels are more because we had the discussion about developmentally appropriate, and making sure that it's a little bit more developmentally appropriate for the students that are younger. But we are looking at other options. We've pulled a couple plans from other districts or from my colleagues, and we're going to be having a roundtable tomorrow and having a discussion because the superintendent of the county kind of threw on some interesting information to us at executive on Monday. So we want to play everything out, and I know Dr. Costa has been working on a plan to possibly revise what we were looking to do. That's the reason that all the teachers in the district were on the schedule to be homebound instructors, to be approved to be homebound instructors, that could be an option as well.
Okay.
And when will we get that update?
When will you get that update? As soon as I get it, which I'm hoping will be by Monday.
One of the things that I found, we had a meeting, there were about 10 school districts, 12 school districts on there, and there were 3, maybe 4 superintendents who were extremely vocal. They made the comment to the county superintendent of schools, if you thought last year was difficult for schools to operate, this year's even worse. And all the regulations and the stipulations and the things that have to happen, that it's making it harder and harder for them to concentrate on what they're there for, is to educate the kids. But all the paperwork, all the reports that have to go in.
CUSAC.
Pardon me?
CUSAC.
Yeah, well,
Grant
it
writing.
was, it's Cusack, but they expressed that if if the superintendent of schools, who, let's be real, county office has been sitting home in their homes for the last year and a half. They didn't go in the offices, they weren't with kids, they weren't even with us. We were all on Zoom. Again, they were sitting at home during that meeting, they were not in their offices, and they were explaining, well, you need to do this, and this, not realizing that, as, you know, Mr. Conover saying that, you know, there's problems with the drop-off at Jordan Road and Dawes Road because parents are driving their more kids are driving their kids to school, other things that are going on but we don't care. We want you to get this, and this in. And it's just making it that much more difficult. But I give credit to the superintendents who spoke up to him and said, look, you thought last year was bad. This year's even worse because now we're juggling a number of different things. Last year it was either remote or we were in hybrid, and that was the end of it. Now we're doing, as you're saying, the quarantine. How are we going to handle the kids that the contact tracing that the county health department says they have to stay home for the amount of days, or the nurses say that they have to stay home. And again, staff. We're, you know, with the shortness of staff and bus drivers and everything, there's no longer the Family First Act. So if you get it from your child who is from another school and you're a teacher here, you got to stay home for 10 days. You have to take your sick days. There's no more federal or state monies available for that. And it's a Family Medical Leave Act that you're taking at the same time. So there's a lot of things that come into play that those superintendents were stating that it is very difficult to manage what they're asking. And I know Mr. Bumpus was saying, well, you know, for quarantining, this is what we have to do. Well, if you have a child who's out for 10 days because they had a surgery or something, homebound starts on the 11th day. So, you know, why didn't they set benchmarks for us? Say after so many days, say after 5 days or 4 days, or say, come out and just say what they want us to do. And that's not what they're willing to do. And that's unfortunate for all of you sitting here. You can't make decisions. The administration can't make very many decisions. And it's just this year is another flying by the seat of the pants until they figure out what's going on. But realize, county office is still not back in the office full time. You're still sitting home. Maybe mid-October they'll go back in. And we're all sitting here, your kids are going to school. I don't know. Doesn't seem to be a balance going on there. I'm sorry, I'll get off my soapbox now. I apologize because this is my last meeting, so I apologize. I do have something to say later on, but I do apologize for that.
I just wanted to comment with regard to the age appropriateness of our younger students. That was one of the reasons of why we got iPads instead of Chromebooks, because last year when we approved computers for everyone, we wanted to be sure that there would be something age appropriate for those children to have because there are younger children. So I feel like because they have iPads and not Chromebooks, the argument of, well, a paper packet's more appropriate than an iPad, I feel like that they could be bringing their iPad home and doing work or completing assignments on that iPad and not just have the paper packet because they're.
And I would agree if we were further into the school year. We have some students that have never used that technology before, and we're trying to make those judgment calls as we go through, especially when we have families that might not have the tech experience at home. That's something we're experiencing with our families right now, where they're having difficulty with Remind, they're having difficulty with the OnCourse Parent Portal because they're not used to using it. So if they're not used to using it, how are they going to help their kids at home? So we're not using it for everyone. We're just trying to kind of gauge where some of our families are in that process of learning, and defer to paper packets if we have to for a particular family or a particular group of students, depending on where they were. Like we're having perfect example is we're having even issues with even kids eating in the cafeteria. Because we have some kindergarten and first graders that have never been in a cafeteria before. And we're teaching them those procedures. So it's more of like the learning curve that we need to address. And when we can use the technology, we are. But we're trying not to limit our options if we're trying to help families that are home on homebound instruction or quarantine because they need to be.
So there are times where the iPads went home with older classmates, like third graders.
Oh,
and
absolutely.
stuff.
And we just are getting started in this. Like some kids have been out for testing, they come back, they're fine, and it's not a real long window. Okay. So we're just trying to really be prepared for all options as we move into this process for this school year.
And then I did have one more thing. I know that we've given the district and the parents kind of the big our COVID plan, which I think is a little cumbersome maybe for just when you're checking on what is the rule again. So I don't know if I know our nurses are very busy, but I don't know if there's like a simple document we could see. So for example, if your child is fine and you bring them to school and then at school they start not feeling good and the nurse has to call and say, can you come get them? Do you then have to go pick up every other one of your children in different buildings because there's a potential that the one child was sick? And I think that there's things like that happening. Like a parent told me today that they got a phone call that they had to go pick up all the kids in different buildings because the kid that was here wasn't feeling good. And I don't think, I would like kind of like a little bit more clear on when, if a child isn't feeling good, does the whole family stay home? That kind of facts would help me just to know exactly. I know that we have the checklist of if your child's not feeling good, but does that impact all of my children or do I just, so I would just like a little more clarification on when to send a kid to school and when.
I thought I shared the condensed slides that I made from the big plan. I made like 5 or 6 slides that kind of broke it down and explained it a little bit better and more detail, but less words.
I will go back and relook. I don't know that I've seen something specific, like if my oldest has a cough or allergy, like something but I'm going to take him, do I keep everyone home? And then does the parent today told me that she was told that everyone in the house had to have a negative before they could come back. And I'm wondering if she misheard that because that doesn't sound like something I've heard before. So I just thought maybe something a little bit more. But okay. I'll look back at the slides too to see if it's just me that missed it.
Reader's Digest version. It was a Reader's Digest version of the plan. So it was like 5 or 6 slides that I created to make it a little bit more simple. So I can go back and do that.
Little flow charts. Yep. As far as the affirmations, like, do you have a percentage that this many people have done it, or?
We have over 800 submitted, so we're pretty close to getting to 100%. I know that Dr. Vanello, where are you right now? Almost 100% at Dawes? So less than 20 students left to get in your building? And I know Jordan's getting pretty close as well, and I think we have 17 at New York Avenue that we have to get. We're sending home paper copies with those families because they're having difficulty with the actual jot form. So, but we've been standing out there with iPads in the morning, making sure that we're helping families using QR codes to help them pull them up on their phones. Like we've been out there trying to be IT support and nursing support. So.
Do you get questions about on course and remind while
Yep.
you're out there? I think.
And we've been helping with that. And then there's also going to be 2 bilingual nights that are coming up that we're inviting parents in on an appointment basis to help them through the process in their different language, because Remind can be set up to send it in their native language. They'll get it. We send it in English, they get it in their language, and then they can send what they need to back to us, and it translates to English. So we're trying to make sure everybody's set up for success.
I know I keep talking, but I just want to say one more thing. I think the beginning of the school year, having kids in the buildings, I just wanted to share with the board one other thing. Things like that you can see making a difference. The communications, I think, are making a difference. For me personally, that was the most people I ever saw at a PTA meeting since I've been here. Engaged. The PTA meeting was really well attended. The events that they're doing are getting a ton of support. So I think there's some really encouraging things going on with families getting involved and engaged and feeling like maybe they're getting the information in a way that works for them. So I'm encouraged by all of that.
Yeah, I'm encouraged as well. I was planning to say something similar to that effect. I think it's a combination of people feeling disengaged for so long and wanting that connection, but I also think it's also the improved communication as well. I agree. I wanted to I wasn't able to go to the PTO meeting, and I had another commitment at the same time. But there's been so much, and this is not to detract from the PTO in any way, shape, or form in all these other years, because the PTO has always worked hard and done a ton of things. But I don't think people knew about it as much as it seems to be. Or maybe it's just me. I feel like I see it a lot more. I saw it, I saw and knew about it before. But I feel like I saw and knew about it before because I knew the parents that were running around doing everything, and that's kind of why I knew about it. But I feel like I'm seeing it in places where lots of other people are seeing it too, and so I think that that's great that there's so much more visibility, it seems to be, and I agree. I think that that's great, and that's something good that's happening, because the more parents that are involved, the better, for a lot of reasons. One, just to facilitate community, but also because, more hands make lighter work for the people who have been doing it, running around, putting all that work in to make all the things happen. So I agree with that as well, and I had planned to state that as well tonight. Any other comments for board forum? Okay, then can I have a motion to go into executive to discuss personnel and attorney-client privilege, please?
Motion, Samuelson.
Second, Chico?
We're hoping it will be 30 minutes. I'm sorry, did I get a second? Oh, thank you, Mrs. Chico.
Mrs.
Okay,
Chico.
thank you. Be it resolved by the Board of Education of the City of Summers Point, County of Atlantic, that upon passage of this resolution, we go into executive to discuss personnel and attorney-client privilege. All in favor? Aye.
Bye, Dr. Kim.
Sorry, I thought it would be more comfortable. Okay. Okay, we are back in regular session. Okay, can I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion, Samuelson?
Second, Pacheco?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We are adjourned. Okay, now Julie's gonna turn off the. She's gotta turn it off now. Let us know when you've turned it off, Julie.